Welcome back to HARDBALL. In the wake of General McChrystal's dismissal, liberal Democrats are challenging President Obama on his war strategy in Afghanistan. This is big stuff now. California Congresswoman Barbara Lee has written a letter to the president asking for a clear plan for troop withdrawal before Congress votes on any more war funding. She wrote, quote, "We believe that it is imperative for you, the president, to provide Congress and the American people with a clear commitment and plan to withdraw U.S. forces from Afghanistan. This should include not only a date certain for the initiation of this withdrawal, but a date for its completion and a strategy to achieve it." I don't think she's going to get it. So does President Obama really have a clear strategy to win in Afghanistan? U.S. Congresswoman Barbara Lee is a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and Maine Congresswoman Rowan Pingree is a member of the Armed Services Committee, has also signed on to that letter. Thank you both, Congressman. I want to ask you this, Barbara Lee, Congresswoman, I was watching you yesterday. You made a strong case, but bottom lining this thing, do you think the president will ever give you what you want? A date for the beginning of the withdrawal and a date for the final removal of all troops from Afghanistan?
I certainly hope so, Chris, because remember, 9 years ago, when we went into Afghanistan, the president then was given authority to wage what I considered then an endless war, and I did not vote for that resolution. But the American people were told that we were going into Afghanistan to capture Osama bin Laden and to stop bin Laden, and to stop Al-Qaeda, excuse me. This is now the longest war in American history. The American people are war weary, Chris. We need to develop an exit strategy, a plan, and a timeline to begin to safely redeploy our young men and women out of Afghanistan. I did not support the July timetable because when you look at what is happening in Afghanistan, it's not getting any better, Chris. Our young men and women are exercising their job in a brilliant way. They're doing everything we're asking them to do. As a daughter of a military officer, I know the sacrifices that they're making and that their families are making. And so it's time that we have clarity, and that's why many members of Congress are beginning to have the debate that we should have had 9 years ago.
Let's go to Congresswoman Pingree. I know Maine's a tough state. It's a very independent-minded state. It's not left, it's not right. I worked for Ed Muskie for years. I know that territory. They must be getting pretty skeptical about whether we can win anything. Karzai's a crook. He stole the election. Karzai's in bed with the Indians. The Pakistanis don't trust him. I mean, I went through the whole list Friday night. There's just nothing good to say about this situation. Aren't we being blindsided? Isn't Karzai going to cut a deal around our back when we're still fighting? What's going on with him?
Well, first let me say thank you for mentioning Maine and our great hero, Mr. Muskie. I am glad to know that you have involvement with him in the past. But you're right, this is a corrupt government, and people are increasingly getting discouraged. Congresswoman Lee has been fighting on this issue for a long time. I'm a freshman member of Congress, and I ran against the war. And as you said, a Republican and Democratic state where, frankly, independence rules. People are concerned with the loss of lives, and people are concerned with the fact that this now costs us $7 billion a month. Our strategy isn't working. That was clear when General McChrystal had to resign and some of the things that we learned there. But the fact is, people are increasingly concerned about this. We're not making progress. And I think the Congresswoman's right. We have to have a lively debate here in Congress before we approve more money for the president.
George Packer's a great writer. He's over there for the New Yorker. Let's look at what he wrote. Quote, "Obama is trapped, not by his generals, but by the war itself. It takes great political courage to face such a situation honestly. But if in a year's time the war looks much the way it does now, or worse, Obama will have to force the public to deal with the likely reality. Americans leaving, however slowly, Afghanistan slipping into ethnic civil war, Pakistan backing the Pashtun side, Al-Qaeda seizing the chance to expand its safe haven." My question, Congresswoman Lee, and I'm sure it's on your mind as well, whenever we leave, what assurance do we have that Al-Qaeda won't come back into that country? And by the way, that's an open-ended question. It may mean we leave right now. It may mean we leave in 20 years or we never leave. But do we have any assurance, no matter when we leave, that Al-Qaeda won't come right back where it was before we got there?
Chris, First of all, I think you remember General Jones indicated that Al-Qaeda really is not in Afghanistan. There are less than 100 Al-Qaeda members in Afghanistan.
Yeah, we kicked them out.
Al-Qaeda, though, is in Somalia. Al-Qaeda is in Yemen. Al-Qaeda is throughout the world. This organization is viral. We have to understand how to address terrorism in a real way, because, in fact, we cannot allow our national security to be at risk. I believe, like many believe, that by militarily occupying a country, we create more danger, more terrorists, and our security is not what it should be. We become less secure when you occupy a country. We have to do this differently. The president indicated early on that he was going to come up with a review in December, and then in July he was going to begin a drawdown. I think this should have been much earlier. But let me tell you, I think the longer we stay there, if it gets better, they're going to come back and ask for more money to create a longer time frame. And if it gets worse, they're going to ask for more money also. It's an endless war, and we have to put an end to it.
You didn't answer my question. Won't Al-Qaeda come right back there? Sebastian Younger, who's an expert over there, he said they'll come right back in where they were before. They don't like it in the mountains of Pakistan. They loved it where they had the whole country to themselves. What's to stop Al-Qaeda from using the same base they used to attack us at 9/11? What's to stop them once we leave? Is there an answer to that question?
Chris, let me say, first of all, we know that if we don't leave, our young men and women continue to be in harm's way. Al-Qaeda, as I said, is global. Al-Qaeda is in Somalia, and I'll say this again, in Yemen. So we have to come up, and our military experts have to help us develop a strategy that ensures our national security, that ensures that Al-Qaeda is addressed and dealt with the way 9 years ago the American people thought we were going to deal with. This is a war that cannot go on forever and ever. The resolution, again, that I voted against was a blank check. It gave President Bush and now any subsequent president the authority to continue to use force forever.
I agree with all
and
this.
So let me say, our military experts have to help us come up with a strategy to knock Al-Qaeda out and to ensure our national security. And that is the bottom line. That's what the president said he was going to do. It's about our own national security, Chris.
I know. Let me try one. Let me try Congressman Pingree. What stops Al-Qaeda from going right back into Afghanistan once we leave? I'm still looking for an answer.
It's a perfectly reasonable question, but let's say we don't know the answer. The question is, are we succeeding in what we're doing now? I sit on the Armed Services Committee. We had General Petraeus in there last week. There are people who will say, it's going to get better. Maybe it's going to be better in 5 years, the loss of life, the cost. We also have people who testify before our committee who say our presence there, as Congresswoman Lee was alluding to, our presence there exacerbates the situation. So if it's not improving, if our strategy isn't working, if we continue to lose lives, and this is money our country can't afford in an economic downturn, what's the argument for staying? We don't know what the future will look like.
I think you've got great arguments. I agree with your arguments. I still have questions. Let's take a look. Here's John McCain, who's got another point of view, and I think he's so invested in this war, he's unlikely to change ever in life. But here he is talking about this timetable. He does not want a timetable. He does not want a president to announce next July, we're leaving. Here's John McCain yesterday.
I'm against a timetable. In wars, you declare when you're leaving after you've succeeded. And by the way, no military advisor recommended to the president that he set a date of the middle of 2011. So it was purely a political decision, not one based on facts on the ground, not based on military strategy.
Okay, let me ask you the bottom line to Congresswoman Lee and then Congresswoman Pingree. Do you believe the president or do you believe Joe Biden? Because the president says we're not leaving basically in July. We're only going to start maybe moving out of there slowly. Joe Biden says large numbers will be coming out of there next July. Who's telling the facts?
We have to have a timetable, Chris. We have to make sure that our young men and women, some have served 1, 2, 3, 4 tours of duty. We have to have clarity. We have to have a timetable. Again, the president committed to December for a review. He committed to July to begin to end this. Again, personally, we should end it quicker than that. But I think we have to have clarity from the White House. That's why many members of Congress wrote a letter, and we're going to stand by that and continue with this debate that should have begun 9 years ago.
I like your letter, Congresswoman Pingree. I like your letter. I think it asks for clarity. Do you think you'll get it?
I don't know if we'll be successful this time, but we have to continue to have this debate. We have to attempt to stop the funding for continuing the war. You know, we're not succeeding. As Congresswoman Lee said, this has gone on longer than any other war, and we're not being successful.
I think you're doing a good job here. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Shelley Pingree and Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Up next, President Obama's poll numbers are